Hello, and welcome back to another video. And as you can see over here, there is a desktop PC. And it is a completely new one that I bought. Because after exporting Battlegrounds, which took almost a day to export, and now with even bigger projects like John Thick 3, which may be more than an hour, or even 2 hours, I decided that I may need a new machine. Now getting a new computer is something I do about every 2 to 3 years. But fun fact, I've actually never had a desktop before. I've just been using laptops the entire time. Well, except my iMac. But we could go into a lot more detail into the computers I use in another video, because this one is mainly focused about my new machine. It's a custom build, but I mean, like, I chose the parts and, everything. So today we're going to go over the components I chose for this new editing and gaming computer. So starting with our processor, or CPU, we have an AMD Ryzen 7 3700X processor, 8 cores, 16 threads. I hear it's pretty good for gaming and editing, so I think this should be fine for now. It also comes with a Wraith cooler, which is a neat addition in my opinion, and it's also been pretty quiet so far, or at least quieter than my past computers. Now for the motherboard, I chose an Asus TUF B450M micro ATX motherboard. It has a 10GB Ethernet and a bunch of slots that I could use for upgrading in the near futures. Mainly the RAM, because as of right now I only have 16 gigs, but I will be upgrading to 64 gigs some other time. Now for the graphics card, I went with the RTX 2080 Super. I didn't want to quite get the Ti or Titan, as I think that may be a tad bit overkill. So I think this will be fine for at least the next few years, hopefully. I mean, hey, if you can play Ray Trace Minecraft, then what is there to worry about? For the RAM, I chose some Patriot Viper 16GB DDR4 3200 MHz RAM. It's fine for now, but as I said earlier, I will be upgrading to 64 gigs. That should definitely be useful, especially for editing. For the OS and application drive, I have a Transcend 500GB M.2 SSD NVMe. I know it isn't really the best brand or the fastest or anything, but it is the highest capacity M.2 the store I went to had. Once again, I will be upgrading to another M.2, which I plan to be a Samsung 970 EVO with 1TB of storage capacity. Speaking of storage, here's two Samsung 860 EVO SSDs. Both of them are 1TB. One of them will be used for video proxies, previews, and media cache for Premiere and After Effects, while the other one will be used for storing footage, effects, assets, and other files that are being used for my projects. The power supply I'm using over here is a ROG Thor 1200 watt power supply, which is apparently OEM by Seasonic, so hopefully that should be a good sign, right? It has a high wattage, so it should probably be able to hold up whatever goes to the computer. Now the case, I just went and got a cheap Trendy gaming case for about $50. I went with this because it basically suits my needs and it's pretty cheap, and it's fine for now. Although I will be upgrading to a fractal design Define R5 later on, like in a month. But this case has done really well so far for the past week or so. So then, you may be asking, how does this computer perform? Well, with the parts I have, I think you can guess that it's pretty good. Of course, I mean, how can this be bad? I mean, you got an RTX card and 60 gigs of RAM, and a whole bunch of other stuff that I will probably be upgrading later on. But for games, let's see what it can do. So, Doom Eternal runs perfectly. No problem here so far. So now we know it runs with games that come out this year, which is good. And it runs Crysis flawlessly, so that means it's a perfect machine, right? As well as Minecraft RTX, which is probably the only reason to get an RTX graphics card. Alright, now for the real test. Premiere Pro. So our subject to test out for this little experiment is going to be the opening scene of John Thick 3. I would have chosen Battlegrounds since it's already finished, but I think that would have taken way too long to transfer from my MacBook to this computer, as there's more than 150 gigs of files. So yeah, John Thick 3 will do for now. And it plays extremely smoothly, thankfully. Though it should probably perform smoother when I get my upgrades for my storage and memory. Now for the export time, so I decided to time how long it will take to export this one scene from it. And it only took about 1.5 minutes when it would usually take about 10 minutes or even more in my MacBook. So yeah, that's a good sign, I guess. Alright, so I guess this is it for my overview over the parts of my new PC. If you are interested in more content, not like this, as this is the first video I've done in this style, but if you want to see more videos by me, which you probably don't, be sure to check out the channel, like or dislike them, and I'll see you in the next one, I guess.